Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another brand new video. If you guys are new here, my name is AJ, and as you guys might have noticed already, there is a stack of books behind me, and today I am doing all the books I've read so far. So I'm going to be talking about all the books I've read from May up until now. I know some people do like mid-year, but I didn't start reading until May. So it's not that many books. But yeah, I'm excited to do this video. I've read some pretty good books, I've read some great books, and I've read some books that I did not really enjoy. But other than that, let's just jump right into it. I'm going to be starting off in order from the books I've read first to what I've read recently. So starting off, we have Red Rising. And not every book is here, but some are on my Kindle and then some I just don't have right now. But we're going to start off with Red Rising. So here it is. Red Rising was the first book that got me back into reading, and on this reading journey I read this in early May, and I enjoyed it a lot. And I made another video on the series, mostly kind of on this book really, but if you want to see that, go check out that video. It is posted and it talks about mostly this book and a little bit of the other two, but like I said in that video, I did really enjoy the series. This book not so much, and I enjoyed the other two a lot more. This book, it was more like world building and kind of getting used to the characters and introducing characters. But the second half of the book, people kind of say is like a Hunger Games, and it's kind of like that, but not really. It's a kind of different game than Hunger Games. Hunger Games is more like a survival games, but what they played in here, I mean, it was kind of like survival, but it was more like capture the flags, if I'm not gonna lie. But I'm not gonna get too much into that. Other than that, I really enjoyed the series. This book, I think I gave like a 4.5. It did set up the universe that I really started to enjoy and like, in the characters that I met. But yeah, this is a book that got me back into reading, and I am very glad that it was this one, and I don't think I wish it was any other one. Now, next up, we have Billy Summers, and this one is about an assassin or hitman that wants to retire, but when he is planning on retiring, he gets offered a job that basically the pay is just way too much that he can't even refuse. So he takes on this job, and this is kind of like a long job, so he has to set up a fake life and a fake career. And his fake career is that he's an author, and that his publisher sent him to this town to basically go under like rehab, I believe it was. I read this book in late May, so it's been quite a while. But yeah, I kind of enjoyed the beginning part of this book a little more, where he had that fake life and was hanging around the neighbors and stuff. I found that part kind of interesting. And the second half of the book is where he meets this other partner that I know a lot of other people talk about in this book, and I know a lot of people kind of like their chemistry and that part of the book, but that part I don't really remember too much. I kind of really remember more him hanging out with his neighbors and then his kind of fake life. And since he was kind of a fake author and he wasn't really doing anything else, he decided to write his life story. So throughout the book, there's parts where he has time and he decides to try to write and finish his book. They're in different font here, so it's like a bold. I don't know if you guys can see. Hopefully, and none of that was spoilers. But yeah, I didn't really enjoy the kind of parts where he was writing. You get to read most of his writing. I don't know, I didn't enjoy all of it. There was some of it that I was okay with, but yeah, I did enjoy the first part a little more. I gave this book a 4 stars. It is the first Stephen King book I've read, and it wasn't horrible. 4 stars is pretty good. But yeah, I'm not sure what I was expecting too much. I think it being my first Stephen King, I think I was expecting a little more. I know Stephen King is a big name, so I don't know what I was expecting, but I know he's very popular, and it was a good book. I like his writing, but it wasn't the greatest book. I don't know, if you guys have other Stephen King books that you guys think I should check out, let me know down in the comments. I'll gladly look into them. I'll probably read another Stephen King, but this one, I don't know, it hasn't made me really that interested in picking up another book from him. So let me know if you guys have any Stephen King recommendations. Also, I didn't really break down what happened in Red Rising. If you guys wanted to hear that, like I said, go check out that longer video where I talk about that book specifically. But let's just jump right into the next book. So the next book I read after Billy Summers was A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and that book I actually really did enjoy. I gave it 5 stars, and that was my first kind of YA thriller, kind of YA book in general, but I really enjoyed it. It was kind of like a popcorn read, I think some people call it. Overall, it was pretty fun. It was a fun book to read, and I was flying through it. I read it pretty quick, but it was a fun book to read. I read it pretty quick. It was a page turner, and I don't know, I really enjoyed it. I liked Pip in the story, and I liked her and Ravi's chemistry. In this book, Pip is the main character, and basically she's a senior in high school, and for her capstone project, she decides to try to look into this murder case that happened in her town that has been solved in the community. She thinks that there's some evidence that kind of went overlooked, and that the case is a little deeper than everyone thinks. I actually just turned this book series into a TV show series on Netflix very recently as well, and I finished the series and I enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed the book a little more though, but the show was really great. It was almost kind of a one-on-one match, but I believe it was copying the Europe edition of the book. I didn't know there was 2 different editions, but yeah, I realized that, and yeah, they're British in the book, and when I was reading it, I read them with an American accent. So it kind of it took me a little bit to get used to them with a British accent, but overall, the book was a little bit better in my opinion. But yeah, I gave the book 5 stars. It was a very enjoyable book. At the end, there was kind of some stuff where like the suspense of disbelief was like a little too much for me, and I was like, this is a little hard to believe, because like throughout the book, like it seemed like some stuff could possibly happen in a way, and then Pip at the end, she just went full invincible mode, and I don't know, I don't want to get too much into it. Overall, it was a fun book to read. Next up, we have Remarkably Bright Creatures, and this book, I don't know, a lot of people were talking really good things about it, but I just couldn't find myself to enjoy it. I went to try a different genre. I tried science fiction, I tried Stephen King, and then I tried thriller, and I thought this was gonna have a little bit of mystery into it, and I think some people kind of market it as that, and it had a little bit of it, but it wasn't like the main plot. I don't know, I don't really even know what the main plot was, to be honest. It follows 2 different characters, and one is this older lady, and she works in an aquarium, and she kind of talks about this octopus right here, Marcellus, and I do remember his name. And then there's another character, a younger dude, who's kind of lost in life, and I don't know, a lot of people call him a man-child, which I can see why, and that he was annoying. I didn't find him super annoying, but I didn't really like when it switched to his point of view. Every chapter, it kind of switched from the lady to the other dude, and then sometimes they threw in Marcellus, and a lot of people said this, and I can agree as well. I think we needed more Marcellus in this book and less of at least the other dude. The older lady, she was okay. I don't think the mystery was the main plot in this book, because it was very easy to kind of unravel and understand a little like early on into the book what might be going on. But I don't know, I don't want to get too much into that. It's kind of more like a small town feel good type of book. I feel like small towns, this book might be for you. It was, I guess, supposed to be like heartwarming. I didn't get that too much from it, but I can see, I guess, why other people might have. I did like kind of the environment and the town that this world was set in. I did enjoy that. The small town was nice, but overall, I think I gave this book 3 stars. And I think I just didn't want to give a book lower than 3 stars. I don't know, maybe I'd give it 2, but I think I'll just stick with 3 just because this cover is very nice. Look at this cover, isn't it? It's a nice cover. I like this cover. I don't know if I like this fake sticker, but overall, I like the design on this cover. So after reading a book that I didn't enjoy so much, I had to go back to try to read a book that I knew I would probably enjoy a lot more, which was Golden Sun. And after reading Remarkably Bright Creatures, this one was definitely what I needed. I gave this book 5 stars. It had everything I wanted in this next book. It had a lot more of the friendships that happened in the first book, and it went a little deeper in here. It had politics, it had a little bit of war and stuff. I don't know, it was a great book. I really enjoyed it. I know people like Morningstar a little more maybe just this book kind of saved me from almost going into a reading slump and stop reading. But yeah, this book was really good. I enjoyed it. I don't want to talk too much about it. If you guys haven't read the Red Rising series, I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but this book was very good. Like I said in the last video that I talked about the Red Rising series, if you guys read the first book and you guys didn't enjoy that much, I think everyone can agree you will probably like the next two a lot more. So if you read Red Rising, definitely check out Golden Sun. The next book I read was The Housemaid. I don't have this book either right now, but I did read it in physical form, and I read it pretty quick. I think I read it in like 3 days. The story is about a lady who I believe gets out of prison and she's trying to find a job, but she has a hard time trying to find a job because she just got out of prison. She finally finds a job, and it is as a housemaid in this really rich family's house, and everything gets a little crazy. The mom in the relationship, who was also her employer, is a little crazy. She does some crazy stuff. She like messes up the kitchen and then makes the main character clean it all up, and then she says stuff like pick up my daughter, but then she's like, why did you go to my daughter's school? I didn't tell you to pick her up. I don't know, it was very crazy, very messy. It kind of all comes together at the end, but it was a lot that happened in the end, and it was my first Freedom McFadden book, and I know a lot of people hyped this book up. Maybe I was expecting a little more from this book. I gave it 3 stars. To be honest, I'd probably give it 2. I think it was very easy to piece together what might be happening in the book. It felt more like a Lifetime movie as a book, and I've watched a few of those, so I feel like maybe that's why I could kind of tell what might be happening. Overall, I didn't really enjoy it too much. I don't know if I'm going to be reading the next 2. I do have the second one already, and I thought I was going to like this book because it was a thriller, but it wasn't really what I was expecting. And I think the second book is kind of just the first book, but rewritten. And I don't know, maybe that's just because what it says in the back and the epilogue in the first book, it makes it seem like that. That's all I'm going to say on that book. If you were thinking of reading it, I don't know, go for it. Maybe you might enjoy it a little more than me. It just wasn't my personal favorite book, but I could see maybe why other people did enjoy it. After The Housemaid, just like Remarkably Bright Creatures, I needed a book that could save me and be a good book. And The Will of the Many was everything and more. I really enjoyed this book. It's roughly a little more than 600 pages. And yeah, it's a pretty thick book. It did feel a little heavy carrying it around towards the end and during long reading sessions. I definitely enjoyed this book a lot. And it was kind of a lot happening in this book. I was like, how can you make a story this long? And honestly, it didn't feel as long as it looks, but I did enjoy the main character. And yeah, this book had some great friends in it and some great relationships and some great characters. This book is kind of similar to Red Rising in its, I guess, trope, which is kind of like overthrowing the hierarchy. And the magic system was a little hard for me to understand at first, and the world itself was a little hard for me to build. But overall, it took me quite a few chapters to really understand the world and the magic system. In this story, there is a hierarchy, and let me try to pull up the page where it shows it. But basically, there's a hierarchy, and as you can see right here, and then they receive will from more and more people. And I'm going to try to explain this as best I can. When you're on the bottom, you don't receive will from anyone, but the people above you take will from you, and then the people above them take will from both of them in a sense, and then it kind of keeps going on. And then if you're at the top, you receive will from a lot more people, and will is kind of how people have power in this book, and if you don't have a lot of will, you don't have a lot of power. This book was a little bit of overthrowing that hierarchy, but it also has a little bit of mystery in it as well, and there's a little bit of subplot of romance. Honestly, the romance in it wasn't really anything crazy, and the book could have gone without it, but it's kind of like Harry Potter in a way, where it's in a school, like this big grand school, and most of the book happens at this place, and that environment is kind of where everything fun in this book is. And yeah, this book follows the main character who was an orphan. That's only because the hierarchy destroyed the main character's island and where he was from. So then he escaped. Everyone in his family ended up getting killed because they were a royal family, and the hierarchy ended up killing them. He ended up getting away, but that's his big secret, and no one can really know that. That's why I kind of say it's similar to Red Rising, because Dar is a red and he's an imposter within the golds, and the main character in here is an imposter with the hierarchy, and he's really not supposed to still be alive. But the person that he meets becomes his stepfather. I guess he gets adopted by this dude, and the dude wants him to join the main school, the big school, and where all the elite kids go to school. He wants him to go there and try to find out what really happened to his brother, because he believes there's more to the way his brother died. Now, I wouldn't say this book is high suspense. It was kind of just like a journey. It was a lot of world building, and that is because this is the first book. I believe the second one is supposed to come out soon. And yeah, the world building, like I said, wasn't easy for me at first. And there was some stuff that I did have difficulty trying to imagine, like one of them being the Transvec that is in here. They are, I think, releasing a new cover for this book, and I'll put it on the screen. Let me know what you guys think is better, this one or the other one that they are releasing soon. I kind of like this one a little more. The other one is nice, but something about this, the simplicity in this and the pillars falling and breaking, I really like this one. I think just a little more. I like the font on this one. The other one is nice. And the setting in this is kind of like a Roman type era vibes with the clothing and stuff. It was very enjoyable. I really like this book. I definitely enjoyed this book more than the first Red Rising book as a book one. Overall, it was a great book. It was a great fantasy book, and 5 stars. Enjoyed it. Definitely look into it if you are thinking about reading it. I liked it. Everything kind of more happened at the very end, but the build up to it and just the journey throughout this book and until then was very great. I know a lot of people, when I saw recommendations for this book, said that the ending was everything, and that the ending really makes them want to read the second book. And sometimes I have too high expectations when I hear stuff like that, but it definitely did live up to those expectations. And yeah, I'm very excited for the second book just because of the ending. The ending was great, and the story in this and the people and characters in this were great as well. So definitely check it out. It was a very fun book. Next up, we have Dark Matter. And Dark Matter is a science fiction book, and there is some kind of mystery in it as well. This book follows a scientist who early on in this book gets abducted and then wakes up in a whole different universe, and he has no idea what's going on, but he doesn't know them, but they somehow know him. And it was a very fun book. But the lesson of if you would trade stuff in your life for a different kind of path was very interesting. And yeah, they did make a show of this too on Apple TV, but I definitely think I enjoyed the book. The show did help me picture stuff a little better, like the box is a main important part in this book, and for the longest I literally had no idea what they meant by the box and getting inside the box until I watched the show, and then it made sense to me. I don't know if I missed something in the way they described it in this book, but yeah, for the longest time in this book I had no idea what they meant by getting in the box and stuff. And not even just that, it was kind of like where you would go after you got in the box. I had no idea what it was. I mean, that was kind of a little easier to imagine because it was just almost like a hallway with a bunch of doors, but this TV show did help a little more with really imagining that. So definitely did take a lot of different routes from what happened in the book, and I'm not really sure why they did that. I guess they wanted to make it a little different, but yeah, I definitely enjoyed what happened in the book a lot more than the show, and I think the pacing in the show just wasn't my favorite. It definitely had a lot more point of view switches, and I kind of just liked the following one main character in this book and just following one point of view. I definitely enjoyed the ending of this book, or not the ending, like the last maybe fourth of this book, where there was a lot more action and stuff. And there were some stuff that after you read this book, you kind of like, wait, why didn't this happen, or why couldn't this happen? I don't know, the suspense of disbelief after I read this book was a little all over the place, but I think it was a good thing because it really had me thinking about this book and all these different possibilities and everything, and if something could happen, it would happen. And stories that involve the multiverse are very tricky, but I think this one did a good job in general. Definitely better than what Marvel has going on right now. But yeah, overall, great book. I believe I gave it 5 stars. It was a fun book. Definitely enjoyed it more than the TV show. If you watch the TV show and you don't think you should read the book, I think you should. I think the book was better than the show. I'm not just saying that because I read the book. Definitely check out the book. It was very fun, and it was a little different than the show. Morningstar was the next book I read, and it was the final book in the main trilogy of Red Rising. And yeah, it was a great ending. I enjoyed this book a lot. It was a little more political heavy than Golden Sun and war heavy compared to Golden Sun, but overall it was very great. I can see why people enjoy this one a lot more than the other two. It was a very great book. I would give it like a 4.7. I don't know, it is almost like a 5-star read, but I think I like Golden Sun a little bit more, and for that reason I think Golden Sun is a 5 and this one is almost there, 4.75. I don't know, it's almost there. I would maybe give it a 5. I don't know. Rankings are just always very hard for me, but yeah, it was a great book, great ending to the main trilogy. And yeah, I haven't read Iron Gold yet, even after making that video, but maybe I'll read Iron Gold soon because I enjoy the characters and I don't want to forget kind of everything that I've read so far, and I think that happens quite a bit for me. So yeah, I definitely need to get on reading Iron Gold soon and continuing the series. But I enjoyed this book, and I think you guys should definitely read this series. Now for these next books, I actually don't have the physical copies of them. I actually did have the physical copy of this series, and then I returned it to get the Kindle version and save a little money because it was cheaper on Kindle. And that is the Misbourne Trilogy. And I read the first book after reading Morningstar, and I enjoyed it a lot. It was very fun. It was my first Brandon Sanderson book, and I think it is a good place to start. The magic system was a little hard to understand at first, but he explains it quite a lot throughout the book. I mean, every time they use like their magic, he explains what it is and how it works. And I kind of did get a little repetitive towards like the mid section and like the rest of the book, where every time they use tin or whatever, he said like the same thing, like, oh, now my eyes can see better and now I feel stronger. Like, I don't know, it makes sense why he did, but at the same time, I don't know. Just something about the repetitiveness just didn't really sit too well with me, but it didn't make me enjoy this book that much less. It didn't really affect the book overall. I really enjoyed this book. I liked the characters, but this book follows the main character, Vin, and she's basically a thief, and she gets recruited by another group, you can say, and their main mission is to overthrow the Lord Ruler and the guy who runs everything. And it's a very big job, but they are planning to do this, and there's magic in this world as well. And yeah, they burn like metals, and these metals can help them with different abilities, and only certain people, aka Mistborns, can burn all of them, and then other people can only burn one, and then there's just normal people. But Vin is a Mistborn, as you guys could probably guess. And yeah, the journey was very fun. I did enjoy her in this book. And Kelsier, I think, is how you pronounce his name. I'm not too sure. I'm not the best with names. But yeah, the characters in this book were very fun. I did enjoy this book. And the world in general was very interesting and fun to be immersed in, and I really enjoyed this book. I can see why some people say Brandon Sanderson writes very simple, but I think for me, in this whole magic system, it kind of made this book a lot easier to follow and understand and enjoy. It didn't really have me trying to think too much about the world and the magic system because it was very simple. For that reason, it made it a lot more flowing and easier to just get immersed into the world. I really enjoyed this book. At first I gave it around a 4 stars, but maybe I'd probably give it a 5. I think it was just because after I read The Will of the Many and then Dark Matter and gave both of them a 5, I just didn't want to give 5 stars to every book, but this book was really great. I'd probably just give it a 5 stars because honestly, like I said in the Red Rising video, I just read for fun and I'm not the best when it comes to sentence structure and all that other stuff and the way words flow and stuff. It's just really about pure enjoyment, and this book was very fun. So yeah, I'd probably give it a 5 stars. If you guys are trying to get into Brandon Sanderson, you guys should join my journey as well. I just started Mistborn, so you guys should read Mistborn as well. I'm on the second book right now. I haven't got that far in it. I'm reading it on my Kindle, but yeah, so far that book is pretty good, and the first book was great as well. Now, the next book I also read on my Kindle as well, and that was Artificial Wisdom. This book follows a journalist who is living in a world, I believe is 2050, and climate change has really affected the world. So everyone is trying to vote for a dictator who will hopefully solve the whole climate change and the heat and everything. And yeah, the whole dictatorship was pretty interesting because it is against an AI and a real human. So there is some trouble there. There's quite a lot to explain in this book in general. The main character, his wife ended up dying because of a climate disaster that happened when she was away on travel. And there's kind of a murder mystery with that as well. And then there's a murder mystery because he visits the creator of the AI who's in the campaign run, and he's trying to write this story, and on the island some stuff happens and then becomes a whole murder mystery, and he helps the main detective with this murder case throughout the whole case. And there is some technology, kind of high tech science fiction advanced technology in this book, almost like VR, but neuroreality I believe is what they called it. It was very fun and I really enjoyed this book. I believe I gave it 4 stars at first right after reading this book, but I would probably give it 5. I really enjoyed this book, and every time I thought it was getting a little boring, something would happen and then it would get me right back into reading this book. And yeah, it was a page turner. Pacing in this book was very good as well. I believe this might be Thomas Weaver's debut novel. I don't know. At the end of this book, I liked what he said in his acknowledgement, where he said just one person reading this book would make him happy, but a lot of times books end up in the back of libraries and dusty and no one reads them. And yeah, that does happen a lot. I feel like that relates to YouTube quite a bit. Some videos are just left there on YouTube with no views and no one sees them, and they could be great videos. But he basically says that leaving a review and just talking about the book really helps a lot. So yeah, definitely check out this book. I'm not just saying it's a good book because what he said in his acknowledgements at the end was definitely a great book. I really enjoyed it, and I think more people should definitely read this book. If you like science fiction, if you like thrillers, this book is a mixture of both, and it was very fun. This is the last book I've read, Never Lie by Frida McFadden. I did try to read another Frida McFadden book, and I think by the wording of that, you guys can tell I didn't enjoy it too much. I like kind of the whole premise of this book. It follows a couple who goes on a house tour, and they get stuck in this house because the storm is just very heavy. But while they're stuck in this house, they have to live there for quite a few days. And this main character that we follow is a girl, and she finds this kind of hidden compartment where there are recordings of the previous owner who somehow died, and there are recording of her interviews with her patients because she is a psychologist. So throughout these recordings, the main character is trying to unravel a mystery that is going on. And I really did enjoy that premise of this book. I think this book could have taken many different routes, but I feel like the route it did take in the end was just one that was just too much for me. It was just like all over the place all at once, and it was so fast. I read this book quite quick, and it was a page turner. Like, I was really enjoying this book, but then the ending, I feel like it just kind of ruined it for me. I don't know what I was expecting in the ending, but it was just too much, too quick in the end, and everything, was making it really hard to believe, and I could see how it all like intertwined and interconnected, but I don't know, it just wasn't for me. I mean, the problem I had with both her books that I've read were just the ending. The endings with Freida McFadden books, I don't know if it's all of her books, but I just don't enjoy them too much. But overall, I gave this a 3 stars. I think Housemaid might have been a 2, and this one was a 3. I enjoyed this book a little more than Housemaid, and I liked kind of that whole spooky being in like the house and everything. Although this book happened all in one place, which was the house, I did find the setting very interesting, and yeah, overall I enjoyed everything up until the end, but maybe you guys might enjoy this book a little more than I did. But yeah, that's all the books I've read since May, and it was quite a collection, and I know we have still the second half of the year to go through, and I'm excited to see what books I read throughout the remaining of the year. But yeah, I had some great books and some ones that I didn't enjoy too much. Let me know if you guys read some of these books and your opinions on them as well. I know this video was quite long compared to the other videos that I've made, but I hope you guys did enjoy. I've been kind of slacking on this video because I knew this video was going to be longer. But yeah, let me know what videos you guys want to see me upload next. I might do a TBR and show you guys the books that I plan on reading for the remaining half of the year. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys are reading some great books. I hope you guys got some good recommendations out of this video. If I were to definitely recommend some books, it would definitely be Artificial Wisdom, Mistborn, and the Red Rising series, as well as The Will of the Many. I don't know, there's some really great books out there, so definitely go check them out. I'll see you guys on the next video. Don't forget to hit that like button, and if you guys want to support the channel, the biggest thing you guys can do is hit the like button and subscribe. It means a lot to me. I'll see you guys on the next video. Comment down below what you guys thought of the books and your thoughts on them, and what books you guys are reading as well, and what books you guys think I should read. See you guys on the next video. Don't forget to stay fresh.